don't care what society thinks. They're nothing anyway. They're no better than me.
Until we hear the safe word, we will not stop.
Have you ever thought what it would be like to see a person's head amputated? Think of things so horrible that the human mind cannot imagine them. See all this and more when you see on stage, in person, that crazy mix-up.
I like being set apart from people. I like to be hated.
Safe Word with Jason Rouse.
Hey, this is Jason Rouse, and welcome to the Safe Word podcast. I've actually said it right today. I usually fumble pod, and I did it right. And my guest today, my friend Steve Patterson. A lot of people would not believe that or deny it, and say it would expect some sort of letter of documentation. Because a lot of people don't know this, but we started. You're one of probably the original 6 guys that I would recognize as comedians that I started out with. More so than probably maybe some of the other 5 of them, just being in Canadian comedy 20 years ago.
Yeah, man, we were tight. We were roommates.
That's over now.
Well, it's over. yeah. No, there was the big falling out. No, we never had a big falling out. We just we can still talk now. We didn't have to fight at the beginning of this. Right?
I don't think, even though what we were doing was very, from an outside look, extreme ends of the spectrum. There was an element of like respect. Like you were never like, oh, this is weird, and I was never like, that's boring. And it was always a lot of fun. But I'd moved from Vancouver in November of '96, and then by '97 of doing shows in and around Hamilton, Toronto was kind of the next step. And you, I think, were kind of with me in the sense that we were trying to get on regular Yuck shows.
We were starting right at the same time, and we were both doing completely different things. But it was fun. No one watching our sets would think, "Oh, yeah, these guys must hang out together all the time." But we both worked hard at it, right?
Most definitely.
That was it.
And that was a common theme. Like we can go down the list, but everybody was very different, very different. And then I found that the generation after us, there seems to be a lot of trickle down. I saw a lot of you. I saw a lot of Zed Lacker.
Yeah.
It got so bad they actually had a meeting in Hamilton and for the open micers saying we have Jason Rouse and we're trying to deal with that.
Yeah, right? We don't need the next Jason Rouse while Jason Rouse is still here.
Yeah, exactly. One at a time. So I think what we did maybe not acknowledged as well as it should have been. But that's where you get a lot of copycats and people that imitate things to there's nowhere to go with it though.
Yeah. No, it's good to be if you don't lie about who you are, then you don't have to remember how it was,
Yeah, exactly. I like that line. Did you just make that up?
I did.
You don't have to remember how it was.
That's right. You're like, what voice was I using? That what character was I up there? Oh, I was me. I was saying what I want to say.
Exactly. Authenticity.
I believe that's how you say it.
I think I added a couple other syllables. So I went.
It's a beautiful city. Authenticity.
It's. I was educated in the fine city of Hamilton.
The Hammer.
But you grew up in like a farming community.
I didn't grow up in a farm.
No, but you're
Stop trying to hypnotize me with your eyes and make up a fake history for me, Jason.
No, you were raised by leprechauns and then brought over by a Sri Lankan family to Park Hill, Ontario. But I met you in Toronto, but where did you come from? Because you didn't grow up here.
No, I grew up in London, Ontario.
Yeah.
Which is not really a farming community, but it's like...
Which is a shithole community now.
London?
What year did you leave there?
I left there in like 95, probably. Okay. But I grew up there, but then I went to Toronto. I came back briefly. So I was probably there for like all of the 80s in London.
Uh-huh.
And then I came back.
That was probably, and like probably the peak of it. Because now at downtown London, I was there last year. And it's got a problem. It's like Edmonton in a way.
It's a suburban city. Like you don't go to the middle of downtown London.
No, LA's like that. Around. People are like, let's go to the city center. Oh yeah, you ever see The Purge? Because it's a lot like that. You ever had a homeless guy lick your face because you were sweating? It's but you travel. We've done gigs together in various countries. Actually, have we done gigs together in London?
I don't know.
Canada.
I don't know if we've gigged
They would
outside of
separate
London.
us. Canadians, they'd never want to put on the same show, right?
No, that used to be the old joke, right? Is if you want to work with these people, now don't tell the booker, Ed, good old Ed, because they'll never put you together. Like you'd be with Ed, you'd be lucky to get to the gig on the right day. Like you'd be lucky if the gig was happening the night that he told you on the gig sheet. So,
oh yeah, that's an old gig sheet. You're at the wrong address, and you're going to be late now. So just come back.
I'm swamped. That was always his line, right? You're standing. I'm swamped today.
I know that was the weird thing about the agents in this business. Sometimes the sigh of like, this is your job, man.
Yeah, it's literally today they would say you had one job, and this is your job, is to book.
Yeah, I'm
book
calling
us.
up. Hey, I'd like to go make some people happy. Well, not me personally, but some comedians say that.
That you would make them laugh in spite of themselves. That's what I always love about your set.
It's way worse now. All that boyish charm they had in early 2000,
Gone.
gone. It's a malicious hate crime now, and I love it. I'm very happy with myself.
That is a very specific comedy niche.
I've had
True hate.
some walkouts here and there, but that's fine. How often have you heard people storm out of your show?
No, never know.
Because you like the pro. Your language is clearly a little different than mine. You're literate, and
people can't storm when a grandparent has brought their toddler. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
They'd never storm. No, I don't get heckled that much. And sometimes it happens. I remember the last time it really happened.
You do it very well, though. I've seen you deal with hecklers, and all of a sudden there's 10 minutes and some callbacks, and now you've got a song about this asshole at the end, right?
That's true. That's true.
I've seen
I do
it.
like to turn it into song.
I've seen it's like we've moved on, but I haven't moved on.
I haven't. No.
So we're going to address this accordingly.
Yeah, I'm going to kill you with kindness. Yeah.
And you have a family.
I do.
That's crazy for me.
I know, man. It's crazy because you know how
I'm not surprised. I think you're probably an awesome dad.
Oh, thanks, man. I thought you just meant I figured you would have impregnated someone by now, but yeah,
I have, but none have lived. It's funny if a girl tells you you're pregnant and you take her jogging, and when I say jogging, a sled down a flight of stairs. Anyway, you'll read about it in my biography. No, I've had no children or marriage. Couple possible
engagements, right?
There was a couple of engagements.
Yeah.
One of them was a good one. One of them was a fucking nightmare. What a cunt. I've had some bad runs, man. Do you get death threats from women you've been inside of before?
No, that's your own thing.
We were living in a different world, man. But it's nice to see you again. No, I'm crying because I'm happy. So, let's go back to our kind of the what was happening in Toronto in the mid '90s. Yuck Yucks was at Yonge and Eglinton.
Yeah.
Packed. There was lineups. Very hot shows. I think Kenny Robinson had started doing the All Black show around that time, which is
still
probably
going.
arguably the best comedy show in the country in Toronto.
Absolutely.
And then
that's weird that I say absolutely because now that club is called Absolute. They
just
did.
Here comes a song.
They just kept. It's an absolute fun delight. Come out for comedy tonight at Absolute Comedy. It's no longer Yuck Yucks.
Yeah.
No, that they did a pretty smart thing in that they just went into that club and didn't change much of it because people just came for comedy.
Yes.
And, we both had to get through that frame. You would have to prove.
We tried to promote ourselves.
We did. But
remember multiple times. Unfortunately, our American ideas, because I'm now living in the States, we had a very self-promotion. Like when you hear about comedians selling merchandise, no one sold merchandise in Canada.
That. Yeah.
Nobody. And I think maybe Russell Peters there was so much traction with his comedy now and the re-releases of all that stuff that people wanted hard copies of stuff. And there was no T-shirts or nobody had anything for 30 years.
Right.
And the business model kind of hovered around the 80s with none of the hype.
And it was kind of rare. I think it still is. Like, you obviously have to do your own promo, and you can't, some comedians begrudge comedians for doing their own promo, but you have to do it. No one's going to care as much as you.
And it's so more relevant even now.
Yeah. Well,
like, we had no platform.
No, we didn't have anything.
Flyers. You had to take somebody's email address, and how many of those can you collect in a year without being like, are you looking for somebody? You know what I mean? Do you print all your own posters, promotional stuff, things like that? Because, again, people would come to see comedy, but to try and do something original and get your fans to come and at least let people know, opposed to being in a city and then being messaged weeks later, hey, when are you coming? And you're like, fuck.
It's amazing to me, though, still, that there's people that are... People think they know you from your comedy. I'm sure you run into it. So then they get...
Me? Dude, I don't run into it. It runs into me.
That's what I'm saying. But do you still get that people are like, they're personally insulted that you didn't personally inform them that you're coming to their town, even though you don't really know them. They're just they've seen your comedy.
And you know what? Because when we were talking about this, your on-stage persona, you're very much more approachable. People have more of a chance with you. Where mine, you'll get a picture of Boomer's asshole in your inbox.
That's true.
For complimenting me on how great the show was. So,
yeah.
But I get it. I get that kind of stress from a different, more of a mania, death threats. Opposed to how come you didn't let me know about the show?
That's true. Yeah, my upset people are not really in your sphere. Your people would be like, yeah, bite the head off a live goat.
Yeah, and most of them don't give a shit enough. They're on my social media enough to know, and if they're true fans, I don't really have to give too much of a direct message to them to let them know where I am. I'm very kind of on those platforms, promoting, documentating, letting people know where and when, give them plenty of notice. There's some of it's a little cryptic, but I figure if people really wants to find it and figure it out, you can always just talk into your fucking phone and go, on this day, in this month, this year, and then it will answer it.
Right.
So if you are going to be angry at me for a lack of connection, then you don't know how to use a fucking phone, dummy.
And see, that's the kind of thing that I think those thoughts.
What Jason's trying to say is, wow. Anyway, let's go to commercial. Yeah,
clouds.
Well,
What's with them?
You're a darling in the television aspect of things. Where I'm not. I jokingly say I got a reoccurring character on Catch a Predator, but I think a lot of people believe that I have a reoccurring character. And you are in you host a show.
Well, I host some shows, but they're radio shows. There's less pressure on the radio to do that sort of thing. But
what a great thing, for me, I'm very theater of the mind. So listening to old BBC radio shows, like classic shit, all the Folly stuff and that, and the whole atmosphere of it works better for me than being stuck in a traditional maybe game show format that's not necessarily doing it justice.
Well, the good thing about, there's not a lot of radio comedy anymore. That's kind of where it started, but you have to...
well, you got to think. Let's take radio comedy and put podcast.
Yeah.
So there's tons of radio
Podcasts
comedy.
Are coming back. That's right. And you can't...
it's massive.
There's a lot of pressure on every word, right? Because you don't have the... What I love about your comedy... And I've not yet to see.
I love how you stumbled when you said comedy. Your comedy.
well,
you're
because it's
customs
more,
officer.
It's more than comedy to me to watch you because you fully get inside of your role. You act everything out. I don't even know where half your stuff comes from, and you can still interact with the crowd in the character, which is amazing to me because I have zero attention span on stage.
Yeah.
I wouldn't call myself any form of actor, so I'm really relying on words to the point now that I actually just read letters for a good portion of my set because I know I'm going to get to the end of that because still have no attention span. But you embody everything that you're doing up there. And I'm always amazed by that. I don't have that at my disposal. That's why I need more words in my.
I know, and that's why I would see you at your desk and ogling over like language and the word of it. And like I said, the theater of the mind, I would develop a picture in my head, and then I'd try and articulate that into a language that I could kind of round it out and maybe build some sort of sketchy a script to repeat it again. Because when it is great and it's in the moment and it's happening, it's hard to mimic that. But you have always had a very precision structure to it because you know what, if you had holes in it, it's going to show.
Yeah, for sure.
It's going to show hard.
Yeah.
Where I have a skill set that I can kind of feather out some of the rough spots with some a physical transition or some graphic thing that disrupts. It's a constant jarring, fucking, we're changing gears. Oh, God, dead baby. Skin cats are on top of me. Where you're like, you've got a really good clutch. I've got no clutch. I'm power shifting through everything, and no one wants to be on this bus.
And yet they're all along for the ride by the end of it. The seminal moment in Jason Rouse comedy for me to witness live was when we did on our tour almost 20 years ago now, through the Maritimes, and we went to like a cowboy western bar in New Brunswick, and there was it was full of literally maritime
with the
cowboys.
stairs up the back of the stage,
and there was a guy in the front in a wheelchair, I think probably cerebral palsy, in the very front, in a rough, like a real rough cowboy bar.
Boots and hats. We were laughing because there was guys wearing chaps.
Yeah, they not ironically, like they were pretty happy. And you came out, and Pete and I had kind of, make sure that the person in the wheelchair is laughing. That's great, but let's not comment on that. Let's get through here alive.
Yeah.
And you came out, and you looked at him, and you went, "Did they do this to you in prison? You sons of bitches!" And there was a second of silence, and I thought, "This is the end for us. Like they're gonna find us dead. There's gonna be boots up our anus." And there was a second of, "I can't believe that just happened," and then an explosion of laughs, and then everyone was off. I don't think anyone else could have pulled that off.
No, and I think it does a disservice to the person in the wheelchair to not. Because everyone has stepped over him. He's felt like less than in these public forums and stuff. So I think, and this has happened multiple times where I become very aggressive immediately to this issue. Very aggressive. And there's a wash of like, I'm part of the team.
Yeah.
I'm part of the team.
It's relief, which you wouldn't think it would be coming. Yeah.
And not only that, I'm just on your team. The rest of these, quote, able-bodied people, paralyzed from the neck up, that are feeling sorry for you. Sorry.
So it depends where you're shipping this out to.
I know, exactly. Out to.
Where's it going out to?
It's going to come right
Send
up.
it to my house.
Oh, now we're making fun of our own folks.
We are. We deserve it.
As we do. I think it's very much appreciated from people like that, I remember there was multiple times, "Hey, there's somebody disabled in front." Good.
Yeah.
Good, because we're going to put a ribbon on that right away, okay? And we're going to sink that ship so we can all move forward as a group. Because clearly him being in a public thing, because what's happened is he put his cards on the table and go, "What are you going to do with this?
About it?
What do you got? What do you got? I'll tell you what I got. I will rape you. That's what I got."
I mean, you see, there's always that one gear, that one extra shift that you
There's
always
no
do.
clutch in this car, yeah. You just can't, "Hey, I'm sorry about your situation. Anybody celebrating anything?" No, I'm going to rape this guy.
Yeah, you skip a lot of steps. If you were a high jumper, you'd be like, "You know what? Put it at 7 feet. I'll give it a shot."
I like to go right to the love. Right to the love. So I move away.
Yeah, I'm still getting over that, by the way.
So we had an apartment in a kind of a relatively populated by comedians for a short time. We had Boomer Phillips and Casey Corbin across the street for a minute.
Yeah.
And some other people I think had moved at the time. Across the street there was somebody that lived in the back place there, right by the beer store, which was weird because I didn't drink.
You didn't drink at all.
But you did.
I drank for both of us, yeah.
You drank for both of us, and I remember coming home and you were sleeping on the overhang of the front of the building with a blanket.
Yeah,
and not to mention, it's not a flat surface.
No, it was slanted. Yeah.
This was slanted. You were like, it's hot in my room, and I like to live on the edge. I want to be in a state of blackout with no motor skills, so I can't even reach for something if I fall. And I'm like, and I'm the problem. I'm looking around the neighborhood. I'm the guy. And yeah, we had multiple comedians come and stay with us, and then around early, I think 2004, I think you've already made some trips, and I'd hear the comedians, friends of ours, Mike Wilmot and Craig Campbell's and Sean Collins and Tom Stades, and even Glenn, I think, had been living over that time. Whitehead was there, and it was kind of like, well, we were not in a position to gain any kind of visa or green card to the States. That there was no real, it was, the last guy was like Harlan Williams. He had a Disney deal.
Yeah,
it was so over the moon. Wait, how much? 10, 15,000? No, I made 15 grand this year.
Right.
I can't do that. So, being some of us are bastards of the Commonwealth and eligible in some form for a visa,
a work visa to the UK,
and then our families, bloodlines, and things allowed us to get official visas and stuff. So that opened up a whole another thing for us. Like you were, I know you were making. I think around the last time you were going over, you were kind of over it because you'd been through Ireland like a dozen times. I
always liked.
You're getting tired. You're getting tired of the road.
Well, comics, fine. I did get tired of the road a bit.
But you're doing it wide.
I liked Ireland more than England. Like I like people that can take a joke, and I found, and I mean jokes about them. And I went over to England, and I would start joking about stuff that I would see over there to them.
Yeah,
and it's stuff that would work in Canada. Like they were insulted that I was insulting their culture. In Ireland, they didn't care, and in Australia, they don't care. You could get off.
They didn't care in Ireland because they knew you weren't English.
That's true,
and weren't American.
That's true. When I made fun of the British to the Irish, that worked even better.
Fucking right.
So I've always liked those little kind of tours. Like Ireland's not as big, but I'd go around the country and do those little gigs.
Yeah, 3 weeks.
Yeah,
and when you say little gigs, these Wednesday night pub shows were fucking awesome.
Well, they were packed in Belfast.
It was Empire. I walked in, and I made a slippy fuck up. Hey, it's really good to be here in the UK.
Ooh,
yeah, but I established I was Canadian, and there was some leeway there, and I did it in the Darla O'Hanlon.
Dara O'Brien?
No,
O'Hanlon? I don't know. I
think so. Anyway, he was like the House MC and stuff.
Yeah.
He said, "Mate, you're lucky you told him you were Canadian first."
Yeah.
They would have fucked you up.
Still wouldn't have found the body.
At least that's what I think he said. The accent. I was working with a Glaswegian guy. First of all, I get to England. I'm a little freaked out. I've been to New York maybe once or twice before that. And now I'm looking at the London Underground map. And I'm used to dealing, Finch to Union.
Right. There are 2 lines.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's, the inverted cross on the city. And now I'm dealing with the Old Town Spaghetti Factory map. And I've been in London. I'm a little freaked out. Okay, I've got a limited budget. My exchange rate has just fucking crushed me. And I'm on Craig Campbell's couch in Wood Green.
We've stayed on that same couch.
He comes home and says, "I got a gig for you on Wednesday." And I'm like, "Awesome." He goes, "Yeah, you got to go to Ireland." I'm like, "I just got to England, and this is freaking me out. Now you want me to go somewhere by myself?" He goes, "Yeah, you go to the airport, you fly over and do it. It's a regular thing." And I walk in thinking there's 80 people at a pub.
Yeah.
It's a massive church.
Yeah, it's like 500 people.
500 people,
Yeah.
and probably 300 of them are standing
on
the floor.
The second floor, yeah.
Yeah. And all these great places.
That's where I tried vodka and Red Bull for the first time, not knowing what it was. It had just been introduced.
It's a hate crime. That's what it is.
I thought, well, I usually drink gin and tonics, so instead I'll have vodka Red Bulls, but have the same amount as if I was drinking gin and tonics.
Yeah, but you also got 30 pots of coffee on top of the vodka.
I went to someone's house. I don't know. I was at a house party. I drank everything they had. They were like, "Watch the Canadian drink."
Yeah.
And I'd missed a train to Dublin the next day for a gig. It was, and I felt right at home. That's why I enjoy that kind of
That's
thing.
why the subways are so quiet in the UK in the morning, because those fuckers
no
are
one's on
hung
there.
over.
Oh, yeah.
Everyone's huddled. I saw a guy holding onto a briefcase, face down on a subway platform in a nice suit, wasted. This is on his commute home. This is like 7 o'clock in the evening. There's a whole different class of drinking
the
over
pub
there.
culture, man. Yeah.
It's fun. You licked your lips when you said
I'm
that.
thinking about it.
You haven't been
I was
away
thinking
from the
about
wife
it.
and kids in a while. You're like, you know what? I haven't been in a fight with a stranger in a long time. That sounds like a lot of fun. Get my heart moving again.
I would actually remember that in my brain. I'm like, I can hold my own over that.
So you come back, Toronto, and then you were in Montreal for a short time.
Went to Montreal for 6 years.
Wow. I know you'd revel in that, but the land of temptation.
Well, I went over there to be with one French-Canadian woman. And then,
I think I slept in the bed next to you guys in your room, remember? At Just for Laughs.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yes. You guys, I needed a room. I think I was in between flights or something, and
it
I
wasn't
crashed
even
in
just
your room.
you. I think Lachlan Patterson, too. We had like it was like the hotel room for wayward comedians.
And your lady, I think at the time, she was very diplomatic. Who wants to hang out with a bunch of fucking you and your asshole? Are these adults, Steve? What do you mean they don't have any place to stay?
And then Lachlan Patterson gave me a hat from the Gotham Comedy Club. He's like, I got this for you. I'm like, I know you didn't get it for me, but I'll take it. I do remember that. Yeah.
Yeah, that was you were doing maybe New Faces at that time.
I don't know I can't remember what year it was, but I know that I was living in the West Island of Montreal, but I wanted to stay at the hotel, so I think I actually paid for that hotel. But
That's usually how it works in this country. But Howie Mandel bought Just for Laughs.
I heard that.
Well,
yeah.
ICA or something. I think he's the figurehead for it.
I know. That's going to be interesting.
We're going to be pushed lower. When I say that, anybody who lives in Canada and do comedy, the festival will be behind. If you're good, 5 years behind your career.
That's
if you're great.
That's right. If
you're great,
they discover you. Yeah, five years after you've already hit.
Yeah, and you've already signed your deal. So, enjoy.
I feel good for all the comics that are going to Just for Laughs for the first time or things like that. I do feel their excitement, but once you've done it, it's it's
of course
everywhere kind of becomes a stop. So
I know the guy who does the Edinburgh Festival every year. I couldn't. It's like a reoccurring abusive relationship. But it's a good abusive relationship because it's so hard to do that festival in front of 7 Dutch people that don't speak English very loud in a room that holds 120 at 11 p.m. at the Pleasance Courtyard,
or at 3 p.m. in a room that is actually just where the staff usually get dressed, but they put a blanket across the back of it, and that's the showroom now for the festival.
Now it's cabaret.
Yep, here you go. Go ahead. None of these people speak English. Go.
It is, that's, I think, any comedian that you should go into the Edinburgh Festival once. Yeah. And then come back and assess yourself on where you stay. That's like the Olympics, would you say?
Well, and yeah, see where you stand for comedy and stuff, but also what do you want to get out of it? And I had an agent over there that was like, yeah, if you want to come tour around the UK, this is where this is where they see
for
you.
live bookings.
Yeah, and I just was very honest. I'm like, I actually don't want to tour around the UK. So, is there any other reason I should do this?
Yeah.
She's like, well, not really. I'm like, okay, well then I'm
not putting 30 grand into it then.
Yeah, because you can. But but you do see, like I saw John Oliver there doing stuff that long before he came to the States, and I could see there was really something there. What I learned about that from the Edinburgh Festival was that the comics, and it sounds super easy when you say it out loud, but the comics that were doing stuff that they actually cared about were heads and shoulders above comics who were just doing stuff because they thought the crowd would think it's funny, as opposed to this is what I really think. You know what I mean? And
because they've been seasoned for that, they've seen so much world-class talent come through there that their sensitivity to horseshit is at a 10.
High. Yeah.
Is a 10. We paid money. We gave you a chance. I don't know who the fuck you are. And you're telling me about a made-up... Go fuck yourself.
Yeah. Yeah, and they literally they'll say that out loud, too. They're not just thinking it. Yeah.
Fuck you cunt. What? I thought I was doing good. No, it wasn't. There was something there that wasn't that too authentic. So you got it. You're done.
Didn't like it.
Yeah, and it could get physical, too. That was another thing I loved about the element of danger that was there. I remember going to Edinburgh Jongleurs when it was there, and they had.
Did they have a Jongleurs in Edinburgh?
They did for a short time, and it was good. I walked in there, and I was like, "Oh, this is kind of like Fight Club," but then the audiences came, and I know they had some other. Well, the Stand was there, and things
I love
like
the
that.
Stand. The Stand is amazing.
Yeah,
club.
probably top 10 favorite clubs in the world
for me, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah, and again, it's a wet basement, and people will stand and watch comedy there. There's so much history behind a lot of these old places, and they're not necessarily like aesthetically.
They're not at all.
But they're not supposed to be nice for comedy. You know, a lot of comedy's been
the grosser
Bollywood.
The grosser the bathroom, probably the funnier the show. You know?
My next special shot in a urinal at a truck stop. I actually stand in the back while the audience lines up and pisses on me, and I change colors like a lava lamp. It's gonna be great.
I could see that on Spike TV for sure. Yeah.
Oh yeah, or Crime Watch,
or even the Shopping Network.
Do they have a network for like? No, they don't. Adult Swim. What's the most controversial? Spike used to be like the men's magazine
the dude show. Yeah. I don't know.
Broed out.
I don't know. There's probably some pay TV thing for that, right? There's so many. There's 5,000 channels now. There's got to be somebody doing something like that. I don't know.
Is there? Are they going to start doing comedy nows again?
I think that Crave TV, it's a streaming thing in Canada.
I've heard something about
They're
that.
starting to do some specials now, which is I guess nice. I don't know what's behind their selection process for them.
Yeah.
You know, I remember
I never understood
the old Comedy Now. I remember being, ready.
Well, you were poised for that.
I was ready for that 3 years before.
Yeah, it was like,
Yeah.
is it everyone else? Steve Patterson can do. Yeah, like now, right now, like you can wake him out of bed and he can go and do an hour. None of us can even do an hour. He has an hour of material that he's all TV proven.
Yeah.
And now we're nickel and dime. I had a bunch of different things. It was a good opportunity. It allowed me, and when we come and do it, it was like our HBO. So we thought it might open up doors in the States, but it didn't. They didn't really give a fuck by that time.
It didn't really. It seems like the only guy that got catapulted from the Comedy Now was Russell for his Comedy Now that was put online, not even by him, right? And to put something online then was a whole new thing.
Yeah.
No one thought of that.
We'll go with an Asian kid did it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. No, it's true. It's true.
Yeah. No white kid from Hamilton could figure out YouTube at all.
Is it for fights?
Yeah.
Is it the Fight Network?
Yeah, can we break this? Idiots. But yeah, that was the series of events and the right medium and the right time. But I remember seeing that Comedy Now. I was at the taping and I remember, wow, that's very rounded.
Me, you mean?
No, yours was terrible.
Russell.
I've tried to block that. I was happy you got it, but I put my head through a parked car window thinking about it.
I love it.
No. No, you've done like 2 or 3 of them, haven't you?
No, I only did one, but I did an hour, and it was only supposed to be half an hour, and they used my whole hour. I didn't get paid any extra.
No.
And they opened the season with it, and they kept playing it on repeat. But the editing was awful, as you know. Like they would go,
Alan Park brought that up.
You would do a joke setup, and then they would go to commercial, and then they would come back at a different spot in the set. Like they tried to Tarantino up a comedy set that you've built for a reason in that order, So
because it was I think a lot of the emphasis was put on aesthetics and not really necessarily on how the craft was being
the material,
viewed.
right?
Which is key. The stage is irrelevant.
Yeah,
you need a clean slate, and it doesn't matter if the lighting's right or nothing. It has to meet. And when you keep cutting away in setups and the guy did not know timing. Whoever cut those things.
No,
my material was very short bursts, so if they cut one line, it was out of context.
Yeah.
So they were small bursts enough, I think, that they were easily navigated. And I brought them a 60-page script.
Like a game plan to follow, yeah.
Yeah, and with act breaks and the whole thing, and it wasn't even looked at.
No.
Because they had a meeting in between tapings. Mark calls me over and says, you got to come into the office here. They want to talk to you. And I go in, there's like 7 people sitting all around. So what are you going to do on the second show, the taping? Because that, and then they end up using the first one anyway. I got a standing ovation.
Right. Because that's you. Because that was you being you, you know?
And Russell was doing warm-up, and the comedians had gone on before and tanked so bad that the audience was leaving, and I was supposed to be the last taping.
Right, I
was
remember that, actually.
A big debacle. But it worked out, and here we are. Where are you touring now? Do you have like a regular? Where can people see you live? Do you like?
Well, I do.
Do you have a seasonal kind of run or cities that you favor?
No, I have I have a touring company that just approaches theaters in Canada and says, you know, do you want Steve or do you want Debaters Live? Because I do the Debaters
different packages.
show. Yeah, and so that's what I do. I don't try to build a big long tour because.
Well, you have a child you have to keep alive.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, I can't be on the road.
And I know. That's it. You got that kid dies, you're fucked.
I'm really in trouble.
You're in shit, man. You'll get yelled at if your baby dies.
Yeah. Well,
so you gotta be a parent.
So I'll go on the road for maybe 3 weeks at a time, but I'm not going on the road for 3 months at a time anymore. No. And the time when the time that I knew I needed to get a place was like I've been going back and forth between.
Oh yeah, you were gypsy too for like 5 years.
I would go to Ireland, then throughout Canada, like the West tour or whatever, and then I would go to Australia. So I did a couple of tours over there, and then as you know, this is what you had to do to get the bookers to book you in Toronto. Is you'd be like, "This is the 3 weeks I'm going to be in Toronto or whatever."
And you don't have to hear from me the rest of the year.
That's right. So they would
please,
yeah,
just give me those 2 weekends.
That's it. So that's what I would do. But then I remember sitting in a hotel room, I think in England somewhere, and there was something on the news about a man of no fixed address who committed a crime, and I think to myself, I'm of no fixed address. Like I got to get an address. Like all my stuff's been in storage.
I got to register myself as a human
3
being.
Years. I either got to become a criminal, or I got to get an address. So that's when I got when I moved back, and then I moved to Montreal after that. But
you met your lady in Montreal.
I did, yeah. She's awesome.
Is she French Canadian?
She speaks French.
Yeah,
it's her last name's Tiberge, so that's a pretty French name. And we're sending our daughter to French school so that she can be. She's already smarter than me. I was hoping to be able to help her with her homework, till grade 4 or something. But if she goes to French school, I'm already done. I'm already done.
Like croissant, si le cheveux,
flacon de mai,
or whatever je te le.
That brings me back. The sexy accent. That brings me back.
Yeah, no, I got Ontario French. That was the last thing that was put into the school system when I was being extradited from my local high school was you had to have a French credit.
One French credit.
Not only that, it was if you behaved and did nothing, you passed.
Right.
I failed. I failed really bad. When you start throwing shit around, and when I say shit,
you're not speaking. Yeah, it's not a euphemism.
It was a tough time, but where can people find you online? StevePatterson.com.
No, it's StevePatterson.ca, buddy. I'm so Canadianified. StevePatterson.com is like an American motivational speaker, and I don't mind if people go there because sometimes people go there and they'll be like, "This is a great farce site because it has weird sayings on it."
JoeRogan.net. The JoeRogan.com is a real estate developer or something like that. So
so it's StevePatterson.ca, but I'm doing just doing what you can. You just get out there and gig, and I'm hosting the Debaters, and it's kind of a fun show. And
that's cool. I always hear about it, and I'm glad you're doing that kind of platform. You've always had a kind of skill set for that, the written word and the nuances that would create nightmares in children's heads.
Oh, buddy, this brings me back. We should get a place together again.
Oh, fuck. Are you leaving your wife? Because that's what would happen. She'd be like, I'm going to go stay at Jay's for the weekend. Fuck no. You come out with pink eye and herpes. That's just from touching the door handle.
That's just the furniture,
That's just the furniture. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Hey, buddy.
I know
Thank
you
you.
got to get back to life, and but I'll be back in October, November. I'm going to be doing a bunch of shows. I should probably promote some myself.
You should promote
Fuck.
your shows. Yeah, man.
Okay, here we go, ladies and gentlemen. I am going to be doing some shows in and around Los Angeles over the course of May. Then June 3rd, 4th, or 6th, 7th, 8th, I'm in England at the Download Festival with Ozzy Osbourne and Anyway, Meshuggah's there, Dead Crosses. I'll be doing the comedy tent on the Tuesday or Thursday, Friday.
As you should be, buddy.
And
That's perfect.
Leicester Square Theater on June 14th. And then end of June, I think at the last Thursday at the Comedy Store for the Canada Day show. August and September, I'll be in the United States. And then I'll be doing my warm-up shows in Canada for October, November in Ontario and around. Stay tuned. I think the last week of November, I'll be in Toronto, Yuck Yucks. And then December 14th, we're going to tape something for somebody in Copenhagen. At a really cool spot.
Jesus, buddy. It's very thorough. I'll be picking my daughter up from school each day at around 3 p.m. in Toronto.
Oh, my
and
God.
I think Monday we're having a barbecue. So
I ate speed out of a dead girl's mouth last night.
there it is.
Oh, on that note, thanks for listening, everybody.
That was the safe word.
Go to my Instagram, my Twitter, my Facebook, and look for something very special and new coming up in the new year. So over the next while, I'm going to be very focused and busy on that. And I think that's about everything. I'm terrible at ending these, but thank you so much, Steve, for being on the show.
Can they see us shaking
yeah,
hands?
they're
Yeah,
shaking
we're
hands.
shaking hands right now.
This is the most. It's what's King Jong-un and Bush meeting each other.
That's it. That's
the
it. Yeah, it's
shaking.
gonna be like that.
Yeah,
Yep.
very diplomatic. We're very professional. Where are my pants?
I don't care what society